Dude, you read that right. Zoro actually got arrested. And since he's a pirate, it would be normal for him to be busted for any piracy-related reason. But this time, he got locked up without committing any crime. And that's exactly what I'm gonna tell you in this video. It all started in the land of Wano, where Frankie, Usopp, Robin, and Zoro were pretending to be regular citizens, following Kinemon's orders to stay undercover and not draw any attention until Luffy and the others arrived from Big Mom's island. Frankie was disguised as a carpenter, working with a grumpy old dude who'd yell at him for doing the job too well, leaving nothing for the others to fix. Usopp was disguised as a vendor, selling frog oil and claiming it was a magical remedy that could heal any wound. Robin was disguised as a geisha. This old lady thought Robin was so pretty that she was sure Robin would catch the eye of Shogun Orochi, who'd pay a hefty sum. And finally, Zoro didn't even need to disguise himself. He played the role of an alcoholic, just drinking from bar to bar. He didn't even want that job. So, after drinking a lot at the bar, he heads out to drink while enjoying the moonlight. The vibe was beautiful until he heard the sound of someone drawing a sword. There was a guy with a straw bucket on his head stabbing another dude in the middle of the street. Then he ran off. But Zoro smelled the blood and told him to stop. He said he could smell the scent of blood from far away. And that smell made Zoro super sick. The dude was already scared out of his mind, and the cops showed up just in time. "You are under arrest. You are under arrest." The guy, not being dumb, bolted. Zoro said the slasher went that way. But the cops surrounded him instead, still yelling, "You're under arrest. You are under arrest." Zoro was about to fight them, saying he needed to defend himself, right? But then he remembered Kinemon saying these guards work directly for Orochi, who works directly for Kaido. Meaning, if they touched a single guard, Kaido would find out immediately. And if that happened, their whole plan to save Wano would go down the drain. So, Zoro decided to surrender to avoid a scene. They tied him up with a rope that he could have snapped in 2 seconds with those fibered muscles of his. Then it shows a bald dude with a samurai top knot slicing a straw dummy in half. He was saying that katanas get stronger when they soak up human blood. Pretty sketchy, right? So this Minecraft head shows up and tells him they finally caught the slasher. And the guy just grins like crazy. But surrendering to avoid drawing attention didn't work out, because the news spread like wildfire and hit all the newspapers across the country that same day, saying the magistrate finally captured the slasher, and he's gonna be sentenced to commit seppuku. That's what honorable samurais do as punishment after a major screw-up, stabbing a knife in their belly and dragging it upward. Usopp was strolling by and saw the huge commotion. Everyone celebrating that the killer was finally caught. He quickly grabbed a newspaper to see what was going on. And he couldn't believe that on the first day, Zoro managed to do exactly what they weren't supposed to, causing trouble and drawing public attention. So finally, it was time for Zoro to commit the famous seppuku. He was surrounded by samurais to witness everything and stop him from trying any funny business. The bald magistrate was cracking up and telling Zoro to hurry up with the seppuku so the city could have peace again. He said he couldn't believe that besides being a killer, Zoro was also a grave robber. Because 23 years ago, during a bunch of pirate brawls, the corpse of the legendary swordsman Ryuma and his sword Shusui disappeared. Zoro remembers that this Ryuma dude was the swordsman he beat in Thriller Bark and kept his sword as a prize. He said that according to the legend, Ryuma chopped off a dragon's head with that very sword. But Baldy said that this theft happened 23 years ago, and Zoro doesn't even look that old. So he asked if Zoro stole it from the thief. Zoro gave him a sinister look that made the guy shiver and said that at least now he had the legendary sword in his hands and would put it to good use. Then the moment came for Zoro to turn into bacon, but he said that the blade didn't have a hilt. But Baldy number 2 said that seppuku blades are like that because they're not meant for fighting. He said if Zoro considers himself a true samurai, he must admit his guilt and take his own life with honor. And if he didn't do it willingly, the old man would have to make him do it. Hiyori started playing some eerie tune on that wooden guitar, and Zoro said, "Alright then." He started stripping down and said goodbye to everyone. The magistrate told him not to cry like a baby because this was an honorable way for any samurai to go, a honor he didn't even deserve. So he started to give his abs a final massage, and the old man raised the guarantee sword. Then he went all in, but stopped at the last second before hitting his gut. Everyone had a what the heck face. And Zoro said, "I smell blood." He started coating the little knife with hockey and said that Baldy was the real slasher. Then with that butter knife, he managed to launch a hockey slash that cut the guy's chest and wrecked everything. He struck a cool pose and apologized to Kinemon, saying that he wasn't gonna die here. So then all the guards start coming at him, but he just starts wrecking everyone with a butter knife, snagged a crappy sword and kept slashing away. But the guards keep showing up, and after using the sword so much it snaps in half, so he tosses it aside and starts walking toward his real badass sword. If those guys were already getting beat up with that dull pair of scissors, imagine now that he's literally armed to the teeth. The crazies are like, 3 swords? This guy's nuts? He starts unleashing some super powerful hockey, but they ain't scared and they go at him. But he shows them the true meaning of going at it and unleashes a dragon twister in the middle of the air, wraps it up with a move that takes everyone down and wrecks the whole place. After straight up humiliating everyone, he's like, "At least the weather in this country is delightful." But in this country, gossip spreads way too fast, and a few minutes later everyone already knew that the slasher took down all the guards and the magistrate solo. Over at Frankie's grocery store, he's pretending to be surprised that the slasher uses 3 swords and he's never seen anything like it in his life. But the staff are all confused, wondering how he uses 3 swords if only one fits in each hand. And Frank's like, of course, he holds the third one in his mouth. Everyone starts laughing, saying that makes no sense and he's too funny. But the cranky mini-boss gets all mad, telling them to get back to work because it's getting dark. So everyone runs off and Frank asks what mess Zoro got into. Back in town, Robin and the 30-centimeters old lady were passing by a commotion and Robin went to see what was going on. And she gets a shock when she sees Zoro's face. The old lady says she can't take her eyes off the poster and asks if she happens to know that man. But she says she has no idea who he is and they leave, wondering what mess Zoro got into. 5 seconds later, Usopp passes by the same place and makes the same face as Robin, saying he had to stir things up right now. So a guard already sticks a gun in his face and says it looks like he knows that guy very well, and tells him to spill the beans. But God Usopp is the master of disguise, and kneels on the ground crying and yelling to arrest this criminal once and for all. Says he's got 10 kids at home and can't even imagine what would happen to him if they came face to face with this killer. And Hollywood is missing out on this actor because the guard just believed him and said he was gonna get that guy even if it cost him his own life. So Usopp, you ask what mess Zoro got into. Everyone was chasing after the blessed slasher and he was just hidden, downing a whole bottle of moonshine. Some dude bolts out of there scared as hell of him, cause now his face is plastered on every poster. In the city, everyone was scared of becoming the next victim of the slasher. Little do they know that the guy they're chasing so hard was the one who saved them from that damn thing. The citizens say they can't even sleep at night and ask what the guards are doing, why they haven't caught this guy yet. And the crazies were searching house by house until they found the slasher. But Zoro had already hidden in the middle of the desert and was chowing down on some tilapia he found around. But he says even with all that food, he was still feeling queasy from that good old moonshine. Then out of nowhere, he senses something when he hears a woman screaming for help. This desert was so crazy it had a wild boar fleeing from a tiger that was fleeing from a mix of shark and crocodile. Luffy was passing through this desert with Otama and asking why, if they're so hungry, they don't eat those critters. But she says they can't because the samurai who were strong enough to defeat them were either arrested or turned into bandits. Not to mention these animals drink polluted river water, so they're also poisonous to humans. Luffy said that's unforgivable because these animals look delicious. The girl was already drained after drinking river water, and says Orochi and Kata's subordinates have a farm just for them with clean water, rice, fish, and meat in abundance, so they quicken their pace to get there soon and find a doctor who can cure the girl. Then they see the woman who was fleeing from some guys riding deep web velociraptors. Then Zoro shows up, slicing everyone and sending the guys flying. They say this guy's gonna pay, but they start crapping their pants when they see his face and say that's the famous slasher wanted throughout the whole country. And if you think he's fighting these guys to protect the woman, you're dead wrong. All he wanted was to get his hands on those dudes' moonshine. So he sends their swords flying away and stabs the first one, then dodges the second one's punch and slices the chubby one in half. And it's smooth sailing. 2 more bottles of sake for the count. He starts chugging everything down and the woman thanks him for saving her life. But he's like, he's cool. He just wanted the guy's moonshine. She says she wants to repay the favor, so he tells her to get more sake. But she doesn't have any of that. So Luffy starts looking from afar, and when he realizes that green-haired dude was Zoro, he rushes up to him. Zoro is thrilled they finally met up, and Rubber Boy jumps and lands on Zoro's head, asking if everyone's with him. Luffy says yeah, they got separated but they should be fine. Then he starts sniffing Zoro like a dog and tells him to hand over that meat. Our slasher says he hunted a bunch of animals and fish around here, so there's plenty of food. But Luffy tells him to be careful, says he can't eat the animals around here because they're all poison. And of course, he says that while eating all that poison meat, but this guy survived Magellan's poison, so a little meat like that is nothing to him. Zoro says that must be why his stomach hurts. Luffy tells him to come along with them. A lot happened and now he's taking the girl to the doctor. And Zoro's shocked to see the girl falling apart and says it's not time for Luffy to be eating. But he says he's chill because he eats fast. But it wasn't chill at all because from afar, Luffy could sense dangerous dudes coming with his observation haki. This guy was Hawken, that dude who's always playing cards. He was working as one of Kata's guard, and he was after Zoro, who was being hunted down by the whole country. So now this dude and his squad are gonna throw down with Luffy and Zoro for about 5 minutes without losing the friendship. But now that these two are together, ain't nobody stopping them anymore. My dude, thanks for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video and want part 2, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so we can hit 1 million subscribers by the end of the year. Just 999,700 more to go. I believe. I'm signing off for now. Thanks and bye.